Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and Superman just launched the new DC Universe, or the DCU for short. And Ben Fritz at the Wall Street Journal just revealed that the plan for this new universe is to establish all of DC's iconic characters separately and then bring them together into a Justice League movie. And they're going to do this with 2 films a year, 1 animated series a year, and multiple TV shows. So we are going to explain what the new DCU is, why they rebooted it from the old DCEU, and we're going to talk about when we could expect to see Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and all the other heavy hitters on screen for the first time. Now, the DCU is a new interconnected cinematic universe that's going to connect animation, TV, and films to tell one larger story. So, if you love Superman and you want to see more from this universe, we're here to tell you about what's next, what's already out there, and to explain why this universe is different and potentially better than the MCU. Remember that ScreenCrush is on all your favorite podcast platforms, and we've had some major guests on the show like Sev Ohanian, producer of Ironheart and Sinners, as well as Arrowverse co-creator Mark Guggenheim. So make sure you subscribe on any podcast platform to the ScreenCrush Crossover Universe podcast. So first, a little bit of background. The DCU is a soft reboot of the DC Extended Universe, which started all the way back in 2013 with Man of Steel. Now, the DCEU was far from perfect.
Kal-El, no!
In fact, we did an hour-long video breaking down all of the problems, studio interference, rushing the creatives, and actor controversies that muddled the performance of each movie. So, by the time The Flash was set to release, Warner Brothers is already looking to start over. And not every DCEU movie was bad. The Suicide Squad and its spin-off, Peacemaker, are well-liked by fans, and they're both also created by James Gunn.
You see who that is? Huh? It's your mom!
So when WB was looking for a new studio head, they picked James Gunn and his producing partner, Peter Safran, to operate the new DC studios. Since Gunn is a big fan of the comics, he focuses on the creative side, while Peter Safran is trusted with the business and production side because of his producer role on previous DCEU movies. At the beginning of 2023, James Gunn unveiled Chapter 1 of the DCU, titled Gods and Monsters. He revealed 10 projects, but said that this wasn't the entire lineup for Chapter 1, just a sneak preview. Gunn also revealed his team of writers. They mapped out a 10-year plan for the first 2 chapters of the DCU.
Hey, this is sounding kind of familiar, person. A little bit like Marvel.
Yes, they were following the templates set by Marvel Studios. Gunn even starts the presentation talking about how their plan is to bring consistency and connect the story of all these projects.
The DCU is connected.
And of course, they are going to copy the template established by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The DCEU tried to rush their universe together, introducing 5 of 6 Justice League members in a single movie, including in a PowerPoint presentation. And also, the DCEU's writing team plucked a couple team members from the MCU. Obviously, the universe is held by James Gunn, who wrote and directed all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But there's also Drew Goddard. He was the creator of the Daredevil Netflix series, and he wrote a few of its episodes. He also has credits for the first 2 Avengers movies. And then there's Jeremy Slater, who wrote shows like The Exorcist, Moon Knight, and Umbrella Academy. The writing team also includes DC writers like Christina Hodson, who wrote the movie Birds of Prey, The Flash, and Bumblebee. Also, Crystal Henry, who wrote the Watchmen TV miniseries, which is still the best thing DC has put out in this century. And last but not least, we have Tom King, who wrote many Marvel and DC comics, including the Great Vision series and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is also...
Hey, what about the 10 projects?
Look, I was literally just getting to that, Doug. Now, there were 5 movies and 5 TV shows announced for the beginning of the DCU. The movies were Superman Legacy, the movie we just saw, The Authority, Batman, Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing, and Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And the shows announced were Waller, Creature Commandos, Lanterns, Paradise Lost, and Booster Gold. Now, so, like I was saying...
Person, do you think I'm a stupid, silly boy?
No, buddy, you're not stupid. Why would you say that?
Well, I was just looking at our business papers and stuff, and I got so many confused. There's a lot of numbers here, person.
Well, actually, I don't know how we have sales because nobody's ever come into the store, but why don't you try using Brilliant? They're the sponsor of this video. You see, Brilliant offers me a wide variety of courses, including analyzing data analytics, which is a great help for running this YouTube channel. Their math courses are also super practical, and I can use them in my everyday life.
Yeah, I don't know, person. It sounds kind of boring to do like math problems all day.
See, I used to be the same way when I was in school. I was terrible at math and science because I just couldn't pay attention, and the lessons always felt like a slog to get through. But Brilliant's lessons are quick and fun. They are crafted by an award-winning team of professionals from places like MIT, Stanford, Microsoft, and Google. These hands-on lessons are proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. And you're not just doing equations. Brilliant has foundational courses on scientific thinking that really challenge you to think critically. Pair this with their computer logic class and you can even pick up a programming language or two. So, to try everything that Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/ScreenCrush or scan the QR code on screen. You can also click our link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. It is so much fun. This is a great way to start your morning every day, and you won't regret giving Brilliant a try. Now, back to what I was saying. We're going to explain each of these in detail and talk about how they connect to the Superman movie and what we can expect next. With this first reveal, James Gunn ended the presentation talking about the importance of creative vision behind these projects, which is just the icing on this already delicious looking cake.
The director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special.
So this new universe is different from the MCU in one key respect. They are not forcing a house style on all of the projects, and they're not going to force them to all have a similar look and quippy dialogue. See, when Gunn talked about creator visions, he assured everybody that each project was going to be totally different from one another. And he also emphasized the unity of having one actor for each character across movies, TV shows, animation, and even video games. For instance, Frank Grillo played General Rick Flag Sr. in the movie, but he also voiced the same character in Creature Commandos. And by the way, we are about to spoil the events of Superman, and we're going to speculate what's going to happen in the DCU after the events of that film. So we covered a lot of these ideas in our Ending Explained video. If you want a detailed look into Bizarro, the Black Holes, and Ultraman, check that video out.
Hey person, fix your shirt. It's driving me crazy.
Sorry. So you should know that some of the movies and shows from the old DC Extended Universe are also going to sort of carry over into this new universe. You know, like how some humans still have Neanderthal DNA. For instance, the Suicide Squad was technically a sequel to the first Suicide Squad movie, you know, with some of the same cast members returning. But the events in that film also set up Peacemaker Season 1. And that movie's events are also referenced in the show Creature Commandos, which is definitely set in the same universe as Superman.
Yeah, I mean, that's really confusing.
Actually, no, not really. See, James Gunn told IGN that he thought canon has become too much of a weight on fandom.
None of this is real. It may be alarming to people, but none of it is real.
So to him, anything that is mentioned in the movies and shows going forward will become canon. The basic message is, don't worry about it, just enjoy the show or movie that you're watching. So we will see some characters and plot lines from the DCEU carry over into this new universe. And that includes, for instance, the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker Season 1, and Zola Maraduena's Blue Beetle. For instance, in the show Creature Commandos, we learned that Amanda Waller was reprimanded for her use of superhumans in the movie The Suicide Squad. So in that show, she had Rick Flag Sr. lead up a group of monster-like characters for a mission in Pocolistan. But Superman ends with Lex being sent to Belle Reve, which is a hypermax prison under the watch of Amanda Waller. Now, we know that Waller is not somebody who follows the rules. So, Lex being sent to Belle Reve could mean that he's going to earn his freedom by making weapons for Waller. And this could be the plot of that Waller television show. Like, all we know about that right now is that it's going to include members of Peacemaker's team that we met in Season 1. Probably John Economos, who was also in Creature Commandos. And like I mentioned earlier, Amanda Waller is under close inspection from the US government since she was exposed for creating Task Force X in Peacemaker Season 1. What the So now you have Waller and Lex, two characters that have no morals and agree about the threat that superhumans pose to the world. And they also need to earn back the trust of the American people and the government. So I think Waller and Lex are going to work together to better their public standing while also secretly building weaponry that no human being should own. Lex and Waller also have worked together in the comics and in the My Adventures with Superman show. So with Lex in jail, the movie also set up Metamorpho to join the Justice Gang. And the gang will eventually change their name to the Justice League. After all, they are headquartered in a place called the Hall of Justice. And speaking of the Superman movie, I want to show you guys these awesome parody shirts that we designed for our merch store. To celebrate a momentous month for superhero cinema, this shirt features two rockets passing each other in space. One with the familiar Super Baby and the other with four faces staring out of these windows. The text reads, July 2025. And this is one of my personal favorites. Now you can go on tour with the Mighty Crabjoys tour shirt with stops in Metropolis, Gotham, Coast City, and more. But we also have Brian from Family Guy as Crypto the Superdog holding a martini with text that reads, who's a good boy? And also one of my favorites, look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's your mom. Joining our merch store is the best way to support our channel, and if you become a member, you can get free stuff. Links are below.
But wait, what about Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman?
Well, those characters will probably be recast in this new universe, but look, they're in no rush to introduce them. They're taking their time with each character instead of introducing them in an email. Now, going back to what James Gunn said about these projects being tonally different from each other, Superman is a movie that is just about hope and goodness, and it's bright and colorful. But that doesn't mean the DCU's Batman is going to follow this tone. That movie can be dark, which is more suited to Batman's character. Now, the biggest cameo from Superman was hands down our first look at Supergirl, played by young Rhaenyra herself, Millie Alcock. Supergirl's movie is the next theatrical release for the DCU. Now, we covered this in our Ending Explained video, but this version of Kara was looking for a red sun system in order to get drunk. It sounds like a throwaway line, but it's actually crucial to the plot of her movie. Kara grew up on a piece of Krypton that floated off into space. She watched everyone around her slowly die, so it left her cynical and traumatized. And this is all taken from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, written by the great Tom King, who, remember, is part of the DCU's writing team. And one antagonist for the film is confirmed to be Lobo, played by the main man, Jason Momoa.
Wait, I thought he was Aquaman.
Not anymore. Momoa was always a decent Aquaman, but one of the most popular comic book fan casts was him as Lobo. Just Google the fan art. He actually admitted during press for Aquaman 2 that he thought WB called him in to play Lobo after he lost the role of Batman to Ben Affleck.
Well, I originally thought I was going to be playing Lobo in the very beginning because I got called in. Well, do you know who you're going to play? I'm like, yeah, Lobo. He's like, what? Lobo.
So, when James Gunn was announced as the new CEO of DC Studios, Momoa was one of the first people to hit him up for a role in the DCU as the character that really spoke to him.
Jason Momoa texting me saying, just all caps, Lobo baby. A billion exclamation points.
After Supergirl, we don't actually know any confirmed dates for the next movie, but Gunn did talk about his passion project, The Authority. So the Authority are a team of metahumans who believe the world is broken, and they don't mind killing or overthrowing governments to see the results that they deem are better. We saw one member of the Authority in Superman. That's Angela Spica, aka the Engineer. But the Authority is actually the DC project that we think that we're least likely to get.
But you just said it was a passion project for James Gunn, and he's the boss.
Well, yeah, but James Gunn did confirm recently that, while they announced all those titles, he isn't pushing their production until he's got scripts that meet his writers' expectations. James Gunn has said that he thinks studios being beholden to due dates is killing the industry, and he's right. I think this is a direct response to the MCU's Phase 5, where creatives were stretched thin to keep pace with a schedule of movies and TV shows that frankly was unrealistic. Now, a lot of those projects, especially the Disney Plus shows, were filmed with half-finished scripts, which required multiple reshoots. They ended up costing Disney millions of extra dollars, and none of those projects were universally well received by fans. But during a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, James Gunn said that recently one of the projects from the DCU slate was killed, and work on that project was halted in February. We think that project could have been The Authority because 1, there have been no updates on it, and 2, it's a very difficult script to crack, with multiple characters and a worldview that is basically the opposite of Superman's. But to show how go with the flow this new studio is, during the same interview, Gunn praised the script he received from Mike Flanagan for a Clayface movie. Now, even though Clayface wasn't originally part of Chapter 1, Gunn liked the screenplay so much that they decided to work it into their plan. Tom Rhys-Harris has already been cast as this B-list actor, probably Basil Carlo, who experiments on himself to stay relevant. So I mean, think The Substance, but set in the DC universe. So between this and the confirmed very dark Swamp Thing movie from James Mangold, horror fans are going to be eating good in the new DCU. Now, the last movie to talk about is Batman, Brave and the Bold.
Wait, is this Batfleck? Wasn't he making his own Batman movie?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this is not Ben Affleck's Batman, nor is it Robert Pattinson's Batman. James Gunn has said that certain superhero movies like The Batman are Elseworlds tales, which means they take place in a different universe. The DCU's Batman will be somebody new. Gunn described this movie as a strange father and son story, which makes sense since his new Robin is going to be Damian Wayne, Bruce's son. In the comic book, Damian is introduced as somebody who was raised by the League of Assassins, so he is a cold-blooded murderer. And this is a nice contrast because normally we're used to seeing Batman be the grimdark hero and Robin being the lighter spirit. But in this movie, Bruce is going to have to lighten up his incredibly dark, murdering teenage son. But Gunn also said that this movie would be the start of the Bat family. Now, he could just mean that it's our introduction to these characters on the big screen, but it could also be a hint at the theme or tone of the movie. While Bruce is bonding with Damian and trying to lighten him up, maybe this helps Bruce to see his own darkness and to overcome some of his own trauma that's motivated him for his entire life. And of course, saying this is the start of the Bat family implies implies that we could finally be getting a Batgirl movie, or maybe Bruce's former ward, Dick Grayson, will become Nightwing and head up a Teen Titans film that I'm going to talk about in just a bit. But all of this is wild speculation. We do know that the director of the movie is Andy Muschietti, but we also know from another James Gunn interview that The Brave and the Bold isn't in production yet. They're still working on the script because they're trying to differentiate it from all the other Batman movies that have come before. Also, they're currently waiting for the Batman Part 2 to wrap up before they begin production. So you're going to have to wait a while for the DCU's Batman. But there is also a confirmed plan for a Teen Titans movie, which, like I said, could be led by Batman's former sidekick Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing. There's also plans for a Bane and Deathstroke team-up movie and a solo Wonder Woman movie that's separate from Paradise Lost.
Wait, what's Paradise Lost? We're talking about Milton now?
No. So let's talk about TV shows. Paradise Lost takes place in Themyscira, which is Wonder Woman's home. James Gunn and Peter Safran compared it to feeling like Westeros in Game of Thrones. It's described as a political drama, which makes total sense. It's probably based on the comic book Paradise Island Lost, where a civil war breaks out between the Amazons. Now, I already talked about the show Waller, which might also tie into Peacemaker Season 2. The trailer showed Peacemaker traveling to a different universe by using his dad's quantum unfolding chamber, basically a pocket universe hiding the White Dragon's lair. Gunn has already linked this technology to the tech that we see in Superman. So maybe Peacemaker Season 2 will delve into the effects that black hole rift had on the DCU. Maybe Chris will accidentally make another one of these rifts since the technologies are so similar. Peacemaker is in an interesting position overall since it's kind of like the Deadpool of this universe, a character brought over from the previous universe that has to make sense of this new world. And James Gunn has basically said that all of Peacemaker Season 1 is canon except for the Justice League cameo at the end, which they could explain away with this multiversal pocket dimension storyline. Now, the last TV show I want to mention is Lanterns. Now, this show is following Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, who will both be Green Lanterns in this universe along with Guy Gardner. Nathan Fillion actually said that during his filming for Lanterns, he dropped the most F-bombs he has ever said. So the show might be dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. The show is a buddy cop mystery set on Earth. Gunn said this mystery is going to tie into the overall story of the DCU. Considering the Green Lantern Corps are space cops, this show might be the first hint that we have of a big bad from space like Thanos. Except in the DCU, it would be Darkseid, who is actually the inspiration for Thanos. Or it could be a character we haven't seen in films like Brainiac or Vandal Savage. And finally, I mentioned earlier that Gunn said that video games would play a part in the DCU. So if having the same actor portray these characters in animation and live action was a stretch, I'm really curious to see how they pull off video games, because that sounds like an impossible task. Now, these games are meant to bridge the gap between stories, so maybe we can get an origin game for David Corenswet's iteration of Superman, or likewise whoever they cast as Batman. Gunn and Safran said that they spoke to WB game publishers about what kinds of characters and projects spoke to them. However, the DCU's first video game is going to be like years away. Video game development takes a lot of time, and by the looks of it, whatever is being made is still in the very early stages. The game developers mentioned in the article include NetherRealm Studios, famous for the Mortal Kombat and Injustice games, as well as Rocksteady, who were behind most of the Batman Arkham games. So, per the Wall Street Journal, they're trying to build up to a big Justice League movie. Personally, I think Wonder Woman might be introduced in the show Paradise Lost. Imagine if there's an Amazon civil war that ends when finally the Amazons create a new life. That would be Diana, who is made from clay. The presence of this new life could unite the warring factions on Themyscira. As for the Flash, there is a chance they could bring back Ezra Miller in this role. I mean, remember, in his movie, he basically rewrote the multiverse, so there's no reason that this version of Flash couldn't look like the same person we had before. Aquaman, definitely going to be recast, and there's no telling when he's going to appear. And I think it makes sense for James Gunn and Peter Safran to be putting a lot of distance between their movies and the previous movies of the DCEU.
But when are we gonna get the Justice League movie?
Well, if the rumors are true and they're holding off on The Brave and the Bold until Batman 2 is done, I think this means that we could have to wait as long as 4 or 5 years before we see the world's most iconic super team on screen for the first time.
But there was already a Justice League movie that...
Yep, for the first time. But I don't mind waiting. Like, the MCU took 4 years to gather the Avengers together. So, give us some great movies and shows. Build up our appetite for this team. Don't try to rush ahead like the DCEU. So guys, that is everything that we currently know about the DCU. I am so excited for the potential of this new universe. Is there a project in there that you're excited for? Or is there a project you want in the DCU, like a new Flash or Zatanna? Let us know down in the comments below, or you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Threads. And big shout out to Ethan Ing, the writer of this video. You can find him through our social links below, or you can find both of us on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.